Alright, so guys, let's begin. So, last lecture we had talked about methods, and I covered a lot of examples on that. But then, all the examples that we took, it was only for non static. We did not take any examples related to static. So, let's see how to build a static method. Everything will remain the same only, but instead of object's address, you will call with class name. That's the only difference. Got it? So let's click here, and then after you press Control F on your notes, you press Control F on your notes and type here static methods. Static methods. Okay, I'm not able to see that here, so let's type method. Okay, I'm in wrong notes. Hold on. So let me open this up, go here and access our 10th June batch notes, and then open the notes, press Ctrl F and type static methods. Okay, so we need to continue from here further now. So in order to build a static method, things will all be same except you will make a method static so that it will now belong to class. So that now this method belongs to what? Class. And hence calling this should happen only with a class name like this. Do not create an object to call that. Now when I run this, there is no object created, so in heap objects will not be present. Got it? But this will go to your stack memory. The main method will be loaded first in stack, then this test method, last method will be this will be the first method, which will maintain execution flow. We have already talked about all of that earlier. So same way, if you want to return a value, then replace this void with int. You can also here create one local variable, and then you can return the value of x. You can do this. Okay? Or just because it's a practice program, I can directly return the value 100. Where it will return to the place from where it is called. So let's write int x is equal to 100 will go to x, and then let us print the value of x. Is this part clear? Everyone, can you please observe this program, guys, and tell me, is this clear for all of you? Right? Static, static void, void static. Okay. Now see, is this part clear? So somebody is asking question now, sir, what if I write int before static? What do you see? Error. I'm not able to use it here, isn't it? Let's do one thing. Let's delete this. Let's delete this. Now, let me change this to void. What do you see? What do you see? Error. But now let me remove this and put that here. What do you see? So there is a sequence you have to follow. Are you understanding? After static only you have to write what? Void. You cannot interchange that sequence. But what about public? Can I write before and after static? Yes. This can be interchanged. Okay, but usually we always use access specifier public first, then static. This is how we will be doing it. But public and static can be interchanged. But method, return type and static, the position is fixed. Okay, so whoever asked this, I hope this is clear for you now. Sir, doubt to static. Sir, doubt. What doubt you have? What is static method? Ambika, already have explained in first class. Anything that is static, it belongs to class. And if it is non-static, it belongs to object. I've already talked about this, right? If you have missed my earlier classes, join the WhatsApp group. You will get daily recorded classes with the previous one. Watch all the lectures, then only come to live classes in case if you have missed it. If not, that's okay. This doubt is static. Static belongs to class. That's why I'm calling with class name. Why am I using class name? Because it is, if I make it non-static, error. So now you will create object and then only you will call, because non-static belongs to object. Is this clear, Ambika? Now can you read this program, see this program and tell me, are you clear with this part? Can you please look at this program and tell me, is this understandable by you people? Can we? I've already covered this earlier. There are three ways to call static members. What are the three ways? Class name, without class name, and some people might use object's address and call, which is wrong. So I've already discussed, when it is static, I can call that with a class name, or I can directly call with the name. Got it? I can do that. So there are three ways to access static. Class name, without class name, but the third one with object's address, wrong thing it is. But that will work. So two ways you can follow that. With class name, without class name, we can call static. Any other doubts? Shall we continue further now? Okay. Now, the next thing we guys are going to now look at, the next thing we guys are going to look at now, the concept of, right? Can you look at this program and tell me what's happening? Start with opening bracket of main. Start analyzing. It starts here. After this, which is the next line will run? Capital A dot test. 100 comma 200. So what is it calling? Test method. What is going to A? What is going to B? 200. Now you're adding 100 plus 200. 300. Where will it return? Back to the place from where it is called, and it will store in. Then it will print what? 300. Closing bracket of main. What will happen? Program will stop. Let's try this. Capital A, 100 comma 200. Now you will tell me why there is an error. Why there is an error? Because the values that you're supplying, there are no method arguments. So create a method argument, int A comma int B. Error gone. Now we will type here return A plus B. Okay. Why there is an error? Because return type is, so I have to replace this with, very good. Now where is this returning value? To which line number? Line 8 is returning value to which line number? 5. That value you will take it in a variable. After taking that value, next step what you will do? Print that value. After printing, what is the next step? Closing bracket of main. Now run. See the output. Did you understand now? Everyone clear? Everyone, you're able to follow me? Very good. Everyone able to follow? Yes. Now the next example, I have a method void. Let's remove this. Can I write only return here? Method is void. Can I write only return? Yes. Void methods can have only return. Yes. Main is void. Can I write return here? Yes. Anything that is void can have only return. Yesterday only I explained. Return keyword you can write, but that is optional. Even if you remove it will work. Okay. Let us print 100. Now let's call this method. Now how many times am I calling? Once. If I now write this statement 3 times, how many times it will call test method? 3 times. So it will print 100 how many times? 3 times. Is this clear? Everyone? Okay. Now data types part we have already covered, correct? So I'm not going to discuss again about this. Var type I've already talked about. Have we covered var type? Yes, that's covered, right? You will go through this. This already been done. But now we can start with the next concept, constructors in Java. Okay. So far we have seen methods, we have seen static, we have seen non-static, we have seen different data types, we have seen var type, we have understood what is class, we have understood what is new, we have understood the signature, how to create a program, we have understood what is stack and heap memory, where objects are created, and what is garbage collector. So far these concepts are covered by me. Now the next thing we guys are going to work on, what are constructors, by the way. What do you mean by constructors, by the way? Constructors in Java are very similar to methods. They're very similar to methods, except, okay, few important differences. The first difference is, when you're creating a constructor, the name of constructor and the class name should be same. Even in methods you can do that. You can build a method name and class name same. But in methods, the names can be same as class name or different. Example, I can build a method public void a. Do you see any error? No, there's no error. And I can also give it as what? Test. But method names, do not give it as class name. It will work. It will work. But this is not a good practice. Method names should be meaningful. Method names, when you give, we have to give meaningful names based on the logic that you're writing. Okay. Example, your method will send email. Then we will give the method name with camel casing, like send email. You see that? Okay. Now first word should be in lowercase and rest of the words in first letter uppercase. Imagine my method name is test. Then I will give everything in lowercase. Imagine my method name is public void mobile phone recharge. My method name is mobile phone recharge. So we'll write here mobile, first word lowercase, phone, first letter of second word uppercase, recharge. Again, this should be capital. Are you understanding? This should be what? Capital. Make sense? But the class name, every letter starting from first word is uppercase. Like string is a class. So it starts with letter S. But methods, first word lowercase, and after that every word that you write should be in uppercase. Keep this in mind. Convention. Tell me what I said now. If the method has one word, will you write in uppercase or lowercase? If the method has multiple words, what will you do? First word lowercase, then all the rest of the words first letter uppercase. Rest of the words first letter uppercase. Is this clear? Now the next thing. So here the method name and class name can be same, but you should never do that. If you give method and class name same, then looking at the method name, I cannot predict what logic have you written in that. See, at least when I look at the method name send message, I know this is something to do with sending messages. If I now give method name generate PDF, I know when I call this method, it has a logic to generate PDF. Names has to be meaningful and conventions should be followed. But in case of constructor, we keep the constructor name and class name always same. Whatever name you see of the class, the constructor name should be same. And another thing, The constructors that you are now writing here are by default void. Now see, can a method return value? Yes. Can a method return value? Yes. Yes or no? Can I make a method not to return value? Yes. Method can return a value, cannot return a value. Because method can be void, not a void. But constructors are by default void. I'm not even writing void keyword here. These are only void. So if I try to write return keyword, do you see any error? Do you see any error when I'm writing return keyword? No. Why? Why I'm not seeing any error? Any guess? Because constructor is by default void, and inside void, can I use return keyword? Only return keyword. Can I use that? But can I return a value? Huh? What is the error message? Read carefully. But return keyword you can write. Now, let me write here something. SYSO 100. SYSO 100. Now the next question arises, how to call a constructor? If it is a method, we know non-static, create object, use object's address call. Static, call with class name. How do I call a constructor? So, whenever we are creating an object, whenever we are creating an object, this object creation will invoke a constructor. So actually what's happening, when I write this line, okay, only a partial object is created. Actually, this is happening behind the scene. When you're writing new keyword, a full object creation on your memory will not take place. For an object creation to happen, constructor calling is mandatory. Only when a constructor is called, a full object creation with the members in it will be created. Otherwise, you will see just an empty object present on your heap. See, again I'm repeating what will happen with a diagram. Carefully listen here. I'll tell you why this is required. That is what I'm explaining first now. The first purpose of constructor is without constructor, object creations cannot happen. Now what happens is, suppose this line is executing, then this will create one empty object on your RAM. In your heap memory, one empty object is created. Can I do anything with empty object? I cannot do anything. When the object has no variables, no methods, what is the purpose of empty object? The object should have variables, methods, which has some logic, then that object is meaningful. Just an empty object. Can I do something with it? I cannot use such objects in my program. But now, what Java says, when you're creating object, you're calling a constructor. And once the constructor is called, now your object is fully developed with all the required content in it, like variables, methods, everything is loaded into the object only after a constructor calling is done. Right? Are you understanding now? Okay. Observe one simple thing now. When we are talking about a constructor, keep this rule in mind. Without a constructor, object creation will not happen. So internally, even if you don't write, internally it is calling one constructor, which I'll come to that later. But for now, if I just write this line, it is creating empty object, then constructor is called. After constructor is called, non-static members are loaded to object. Now the object is complete for usage. Is this part clear? Everyone, tell me what are the steps it will take. When I now write down new A, what is the first step it is doing? Tell me. What is the first step it's doing? I'll explain everything. It's a very lengthy concept. Have patience. You cannot understand everything in just 5 minutes. I've just started the topic. Correct? So when I now go ahead and write new A, what it will do? One, memory allocation is done on heap for object to be created. Memory allocation is done for an object to be created and one empty object is present. Now it calls a constructor. Once a constructor is called, the object is initialized, meaning non-static variables are loaded to object. and now they're eligible for usage. So this is a very important ground rule in Java. Without calling a constructor, your object is not fully ready for usage. Are you understanding now? They'll ask this in interview. Can an object get created without calling a constructor? Now student will end up telling answer yes. So now we are adding additional points to it. When you are creating an object, it has to call a constructor, only then your object will be fully prepared with the required content in it. Is this clear? Can I proceed further? Now see, I am creating object, it will call the constructor and prints what? 100. Is this clear? Okay, so let's see quickly in, okay, why constructor calling. Look at that, why constructor calling is mandatory when object is created in Java. Let's see what it has to tell us now. So in Java, when you create an object, okay, using new, a constructor call is mandatory, given in bold. Now forget about this word. There is some implicit default constructor. I'll come to that later. Now see, so what happens now? Step 1, JVM allocates the memory for object. Now we don't know JVM. Let's go with my language. A memory allocation is happening on your heap memory for object creation. For an object to get created, some memory should be given. That look, this is the memory where you can create an object. Second, now when the constructor is called, this initializes the object with meaningful values and logic. Now values are present in variables. Logic is present in methods. So without constructor step, your object would remain incomplete, uninitialized state. Did you understand now? So what is your answer in interview? Why calling a constructor? If you don't call a constructor, what are they telling? Imagine this will not happen in Java. This will not happen in Java. But still, let's assume my program does not have any constructor. So what is it telling? In such cases, you will just have one empty object created, and this object has nothing present in it. Okay, nothing present in it. But only after the constructor is called, the non-static variables. Suppose my program has non-static variable, public int x and public void test. This will get loaded to the object. There's initialization to happen. Constructor calling is mandatory. Is this clear now? So tell me, can I initialize an object without calling constructor? No. If I am not calling a constructor, then objects are not initialized. An empty object is of no use. It's a half object. Okay, we cannot use that. Okay, so this is a very important point. Why constructor? What is the difference between constructor and methods? I can write the logic in method. I can call method. I can write a logic in constructor. I can call a constructor. But what is internally happening? Calling of method is done after object is fully initialized. If it is non-static. Got it? But object to be initialized, we require a constructor. Can I proceed further? Yes, yes. Now I'll come to that next point. See this here. Now I'll go here and let's say I will create one more object now. I'll create one more object. So how many times objects are getting created? So how many times constructor should be called? Because for every object to be initialized, it will call the constructor once. Object 1 created, call constructor. Now if I write here int x is equal to 10, without calling constructor, this value will not go to object. Again I am creating object. Without calling constructor, this value will not go to that object. That is initialization. This value to get loaded into your object, we have to make a call to constructor. That is internal working mechanism. So there is now no comparison between the purpose of constructor and methods. The constructor purpose is entirely different here. It plays a major role in developing a full object. Correct? Method are being used after object creation. See now, I will type here a method, public void and test. Am I right? Now this will print some value 100. Now suppose I create an object, but if constructor is not called, which cannot happen, it will 100% call the constructor. But let's assume in Java constructor calling is not happening. Then what will happen? One empty object will be there. X and test will not be present inside that object. They are non-static. This variable X and test will not be in this object. So an object is created, constructor called. Now this X and test will go to first object. After this test goes to that object, now we are calling. After it goes to that object, now we are calling, going to that object X. So these members to load to that particular object, we require what? Constructor calling, object initialization. This is called as object initialization. Is this clear? Okay. So now let's proceed further. Now guys, we are going to do a deep dive into your constructor concept now. See here. Can you look at this program and tell me, is there a constructor? Is there a constructor present here? Does it have any content inside it? No. Can I write this is empty? Do we have any arguments here? No. Can I tell this is a zero? Can I tell this is a zero args constructor? Can I tell that? Yeah, can I tell that? It is a zero args constructor. Can I tell that? Now, I am creating an object a1 is equal to new a. So this object will call constructor. But what if constructor is not returned? I should see error, right? Because sir, from last 10 minutes you are telling when an object is created, constructor should be called. Object is created, constructor should be called. From 10 minutes you are telling the same thing. We got it, sir. Please move forward. Some slow learners are there. Sir, tell once again 11th time. Tell 12th time once again. Yes or no? But now constructor is only not there. Then this program should give error, right? Because without calling a constructor, can a fully initialized object be ready? No. Then why is it not giving error? So this is your next interview question. We have something called as a default constructor. Default constructor. Okay. Now what are default constructors is, when I create a class A, I'm going to write here A. I don't write here a constructor, public static void main, and I will now type here a1 is equal to new A. In my program, there is a constructor that is missing. Now this file, when we create in Java, we create with .java extension. Like we have text file. What is the extension of text file? .txt. Excel file. .xlsx. What is the extension of document file? .docx. If it is an image file, .png. For Java program, the file extension should be .java. This is written in English. Now what happens is, we compile this program. Now when we compile this program, in detail I will explain the compilation process in my future lectures, further lectures. But for now just understand, this complete program that is written in English, after compilation, it will convert that to byte code, which is zeros and ones. You cannot directly run your .java file. Your .java file is compiled to generate a byte code. So this complete code is converted to a byte code. And this byte code will be stored in a.class file. Now what is your Java doing, very smartly, when you're creating this program, in this program now, constructor was missing. But during compilation, automatically in your .class file, one empty body constructor is added with zero argument. What is added? One empty body constructor is added with zero automatically. If you do not add, this is added automatically. See, while creating object, I did not create constructor. Now this complete code will be in zeros and ones. If I write this in zeros and ones, will you understand? So I'm still writing that in English and telling my revised code after compilation, my revised code will now look like one empty body constructor. And now there is an object. So now object creation is able to call a constructor, which is empty body no args constructor, which is added automatically. And that automatic addition is called as, did you understand this now? Default constructor is an empty body no args constructor during compilation getting added in dot class file. Now when object is created, I'm able to call constructor. Now a constructor with initialization is ready and I can use that. Is this clear? Online students, please tell me, is this clear? Is this clear? Please tell me. Is this clear? Please tell me. Is this clear? Please tell me. Yes, yes, yes. Is this clear? Please tell me. I'll again repeat. I'll again repeat. See, what happens is now, guys, observe here once again. People who did not get this. See now, whenever we people are writing any Java program, I'm writing a Java code. This Java code, I'm writing it as a.java. Okay, now I have to run this program. Any machine that we talk about, whether this projector, whether this computer, right, whether a remote I take it and switch it off the projector, the communication from this remote to that projector to happen will happen in the form of signals. Correct? There are some signals transmitted. If I click on this button, projector will get switched off. So there is a signal emitted which is reaching that device and it is shutting that down. Non-technical people understand, BCom people, non-technical people, BA people understand, right? So now how do we generate signal? The first question comes to my mind is how the signals are produced. In order to produce the signal, we require zeros and ones. We require what? Zeros and ones. Okay, so let's say I'm writing here now 0 1 1 0. So the signal will be like 0 represents this is 1, then again after that this is 0, then 1, then again 1, then again 0. Got it now? So now the zeros and ones from where are you getting? So this zeros and ones you have to produce out of, okay, the content from a.java. If I now write here class A, this class A with the main method public static void main, it will now firstly convert this complete thing into zeros and ones. It will convert complete thing to what? Zeros and ones. Keep listening, you'll understand this now. Which means this file that I'm generating is in the form of zeros and ones. Do you agree with that now? This process of converting your file to zeros and ones is called as compilation. Now, why did you convert to zeros and ones? Because these further zeros and ones, I will translate that into a signal. Now, when I take the zeros and ones and when I run this file, it will generate a signal. And this signal is what your computer can understand, which is again a electronic device. Yes or no? Directly I cannot talk to a computer in English. So I have to take the language English, convert to binaries. Binaries are translated to signal, and now your computer can understand the signal and understand, okay, this is what I have to do. Okay, this is what I have to do now. Fine. So this is what is zeros and ones. Did you all understand till here? Firstly, tell me. Then I will slowly break down the concept. Till here, is it clear? Online students, till here, is it clear? Till here, is it clear? Please tell me. Till here, is it clear? Yes. So any time, Okay, even when you people are going ahead and talking with chat gpt, for example, you press audio button and talk, your language is going as an input, which can be English, Hindi, Kannada, or whatever it is. Then it is translated to zeros and ones. It reaches your chat gpt server, and that will now do the required task for you and return the output. Got it? Simple thing. Now what am I telling is this: I've written one program, class A, class A. Now you will keep answering when I ask you some questions, only then you will become familiar with what I'm talking. Now I'm going to create here one object, A1 is equal to new A. When this object is created, what is mandatory to be called? Constructor. What is mandatory to be called? Online students. What is mandatory during object creation to be called? Constructor. Do you agree with this, everyone? Anyone, do you have any doubts here? No. Why should we call a constructor now? For what reason we should call a constructor? What's the reason behind it? Because if you don't call a constructor, non-static members will not get inside the object. For your non-static members to load inside the object, which is called as object initialization, will not happen. Got it now? For this, constructor calling is mandatory. But observe this program, which I've stored it in a.java. Do we have a constructor returned by me? No. When I don't create a constructor, what will happen now? That's the question. Object initialization will not happen then. But if you don't create a constructor, still object initialization is happening. Question is how? Did you understand the question, everyone? Yes. So what is happening is, this a.java file is now translated to a dot class file. Can you tell me what is in dot class file? Zeros and ones. So this whole program, when converted to dot class file, this whole program when converted to dot class file, automatically one empty body constructor is added with no args. This empty body constructor with no args is called as default constructor. Since this constructor got added automatically, now my object creation can still call a constructor even when I do not mention that. Even when I did not mention that. This addition of default constructor helps my object creation and initialization, and program will from here continue to run. Did you understand this now? Everyone, online students, yes? Yes, please tell me. Are you all clear? Yes, everyone? We'll come to that later during installation phase. Okay, what is a compiler? What is runtime environment? I'll come to that. That's a different thing. Maven is a packaging software. It is used for deployment, right? Which I'll come to that later. Fine. So let's not mix the concepts right now. Just understand this part. So tell me one thing, what are default constructors? If you do not add a constructor in your program, automatically during compilation, empty body constructor will get added up, which is called as a default constructor, which will help my object initialization to take place. Now tell me, is there a difference between constructor and method or not now? Huh? Or is it both same? Purpose itself is different. Where is the purpose same? My constructor creation purpose is totally different, and my method purpose is totally different. So how can basically they be same now? So one major difference you can tell: without constructor, object initialization cannot happen, sir. Difference number one. But methods are being called if it is non-static after object is created, because when object is created, non-static method is loaded in object, that is initialized. But for that initialization to happen, we have to call a constructor. Is this clear? जा रहा है कि नहीं दिमाग में? हाँ, जा रहा है? Yes, slow learners. Is it entering your head, or you people are not at all in focus? Somewhere else your head is. Able to understand? Okay. So shall we now proceed further? Okay. हाँ, पूछो पूछो जो भी पूछना है. Topic related, current topic. Okay. Sir, why there is a need to call constructor manually? By default, it's going to call. Now this is the next question. Now see, what happens, I'll tell you. When I create a constructor, I can create a constructor with zero argument. Like a method. A method can have zero arguments. You understand the meaning of argument now? And it can also have an argument. Now this constructor is having how many argument? Args is 1. What is the type of argument? Int. Do you agree with that? Now I need to supply 100. This 100 will go to what? X. Now observe. What are we printing? Now when you run, what is it printing? 100. This is calling a constructor with argument. If you don't create object, can I call that? Without object creation, will this run? No. You see, I'm not getting any output. Am I getting any output? No. I'm not getting any output. Yes or no? So in order to call this, object creation is mandatory. Now I'm creating object. Is it calling? Okay. Let me create one more object. Let me create one more object, which is this one. 200, 300 or whatever it is. How many times it's called? Now see. Is this a constructor with zero argument? See that and tell me, no. Is it a constructor with zero argument? Is it an empty body constructor? No. If I delete now, default constructors will not get created for it. Default constructor is only zero arg constructor with empty body. Constructor with arguments cannot be default. Did you understand this point? Yes, constructor with arguments cannot be default. Now in this case, until and unless you don't create a constructor, error will not be gone. Because here default constructors are not applicable. This is a very serious topic for interview. Are you understanding, guys? So default constructors are applicable only when you're creating object with zero argument. When an object with arguments are created, then you have to take care of creating a matching constructor. Then only object initialization will happen. Otherwise, object initialization will not take place. Okay? Is this clear? Everyone? Now, if I now delete this, tell me, will the program give error? Will default constructor get created? No. But if I remove this part, I create object with zero arguments. Will default constructor get created? Will default constructor get created? Which file is default constructor getting created in? Dot class file. What is a default constructor? A constructor with zero argument and empty body is a default constructor. When it gets created, when I don't as a programmer mention in my program, then it automatically gets created. Got it now? Why a constructor is required? For object initialization. Now see, did you understand the second rule now? Yes, for default constructor. Third one. Now I'll create one object with and without argument. I'll create one object without argument and with argument, which means zero args, one value, zero value, one value. So this, if I now have mix up constructors, what do you mean by mix up? An object with zero, object with one. Now, in this case, observe, if there is an object with zero value and object with multiple values when you create, still default constructors are not applicable. You see, still there is an error here now. In this case, it will not create a default constructor. Object with argument, object without argument, when both you create together, default constructors will not come into picture. Until and unless you don't manage creating matching constructor, object creations are not allowed. Did you understand now? Yes, online students, please tell me. Is this clear? See, now tell me, why there is an error here? Why there is an error here? Because whenever an object with value and without value are created together, default constructor concept is not applicable here. Okay, so in this case you have to create a constructor by yourself. When is default constructor applicable? Only when your program has object with zero argument, but object with zero and one value or multiple value, then default constructors not applicable. See, error. We have to create here what? Okay, so let's go back to our notes. Let's go back to our notes and let me edit this notes a bit. Okay, Control F and let's go to constructors, right? And now here, firstly, should have same name as that of class. It is always void by default. I've covered this example. Why this gives an error? Please answer this now. Because your return a value inside a constructor not possible. Constructor as always, which is mentioned here. Next, can you understand this? To call a constructor, we have to create object. Whenever we create object, constructor is being called. How many objects are created? How many times this will be called? 3 times. So what it will print? 100. How many times? Very good. Now, we will talk about this point later. But now here, we will mention default constructors in Java. Default constructors in Java. Now, some important point I will mention here. Only after constructor calling, object will get initialized. Initialization, right? Initialization of object means loading of non-static members to it. Okay, now see how many interview questions I can form here. Topic looks very simple. Sir, constructor, sir, we have studied, sir, in college days and all. But now so many questions I can ask here. Question number 1. Int x is non-static. Will it get loaded to object? Yes. Non-static will go to object. Public void test. It is non-static. Can it go to object? Yes. Constructor. Will it go to object? Carefully think about it. Constructor, will it go to object? Please tell me. Constructor, will it go to object? Sir, constructor is not a part of object. Constructor is used to initialize an object. Are you understanding? So constructors are never a part of object. Did you understand? Non-static members belongs to object. Purpose of constructor is to load non-static members to object. Again, I am asking. In text public void test, will it go to object? Yes. Will constructor go to object? Why? Constructors are not something that belongs to static or non-static category. Constructors does not belong to the category static or non-static. Constructor purpose is to what? Initialize the object. Are you understanding? Are you clear? Huh? So can I now write this here? Loading of non-static members to it. Is this clear? Now, next, note. Constructors are never loaded to the object. Okay, so this is very important note. Now let's take here an example. Firstly, example number 1. Now I'm writing here class A. Okay, class A. Now this class A, we are having here public static void main. Okay, and then let's go ahead and create one object. A1 is equal to new A. Okay, now note what will happen here. Note. Okay, note. So note for above program. Note here, okay, when we run the above program, the following things will happen. What is that? Following things will happen. What are the following things going to happen? Step 1. When program when program is compiled, okay, it will generate byte code that is stored inside a dot class file. Step 2. As the program does not have constructor mentioned then during compilation automatically empty body no args constructor will be added in dot class file, and hence object initialization will take place. This concept is called as what? Default constructor. Are you understanding now? Okay. Note: default constructors are not applicable when object with values are created. Okay, make sense? Object with values are created. So this program is correct. Let's type here. This program is what? Correct. Okay. So note, what is that? Default constructor not applicable, object with value is created. Second, okay, default constructors are not applicable when object with and without values are created in same program. Okay, are created together. Let's mention it like this. Make sense all the points? So now you will tell me the next program whether it will work or it will give error. Class A, I will talk about why am I writing public here later, but now let's go here and take this program. And you will now tell me this program that is mentioned here, will it work or will not work? Huh? Will it work or not work, students? Please tell me, will it work or not work? Not work. Why it will not work? Because an object with value created. So here default constructor not applicable, hence error. Hence error. Make sense? Does it make sense? Okay. So this is our example number 2 here. The numbering might not be right. It's okay. For us, the programs are important. Now, the next one. The next one. The next one. Okay. The next one, we people, I have mentioned that in the wrong place, is it? Okay. I'll shift this program here in sequence. This one, I'll move little up. Okay. I will move this here. This will go in proper sequence. This is my first example. Then this is my first example. Then whenever we create an object, so this is my second example, right? second example. You will see that in the notes clearly, don't worry. This is my second example. Then I mentioned default constructor. Default constructor. So I will give the heading here. Example for default what? Constructor. Is this clear? Now observe. So after that example to an error, now I will go here. You tell me whether this program will work or not work. Okay, this program will work or not work. Huh? Why it will not work? Okay, let's do one thing. Let's write here a constructor with one argument, int x. Now, will still not work. Sure about it? 100% sure it will not work? Online students 100% sure? Offline students 100% sure? Why it will not work? Because when object with value and without value are created together, then the error is because here the default concept not applicable, hence error, because you're creating object with value and without value together. So this will give you an error. Is this clear, guys? Yeah, is this clear, guys? Please tell me. Is this part clear? All of you? So we have covered here the concept of default constructor. Okay, so I'll take you through the notes again slowly, what we have covered so far today, all the points, and then wind up today's lecture. Okay, quickly, just 4 minutes quick revision. Okay, let's start. Can we now start reading from here? Constructors in Java. What is the first point? Okay, so this error is because its void cannot return value. Done. Second one. Now observe. Second example. To call a constructor, we have to create object. Whenever we create object, constructor is being called. Only after constructor calling, object will get initialized. Initialization of object means loading of non-static members to it. Note, constructors are never loaded to object. Now, whenever object is created, so how many objects are created? How many times it will print 100? Did you understand now? Second example. Third. Now, example for default constructor. Read this. Default constructors in Java. When we run the above program, the following things will happen. When program is compiled, it will generate bytecode that is stored inside a.class file. As the program does not have constructor mentioned, then during compilation automatically empty body no args constructor will be loaded. Empty body no args constructor will be added in .class file, and hence object initialization will take place. This concept is called as, very good. Default constructors are not applicable when objects with values are created. Default constructors are not applicable when objects without values are created, with and without values are created together. Is this clear? Now, can you tell me why an error? Constructor missing, object created with value. Default constructor not applicable. Next, why error? Object with value, without value together created. So for all you have to create constructor. For none of them default constructors will come into picture. Is this part clear now? Yes, everyone. देखो foundation कितना important है. Correct? If your foundation part is not clear, you will not even know what you're doing. You will not even know why there is an error. Imagine you are stuck with an error in the program like this, right? And you'll be wondering why this is giving error. Correct? You'll not even know what's the reason for an error here. Correct? So can we mention the different constraint methods also in notes? Yes, I will mention that at the end, not now. We'll do that later. Whatever I'm explaining, let only that be in notes for now. Okay? So next I'm going to continue from here further, but students have started messaging that tomorrow is some big festival and they want holiday for one day. You decide, Baba. Because morning batch people, many of them, they said, Saturday I'm taking a special class. Saturday, I'm going to take a special class, right, which will happen for 2 hours. That's fixed. I'll give you break in between. 1 hour class, break 1 hour. That will happen. But do you want to revise these concepts? You decide. Do you want holiday tomorrow? Quickly tell me. If more number of no is there, I will take it. Okay, we'll take the class tomorrow. Is this clear, everyone? Huh. So let me save our GitHub. Save the GitHub. So today, congratulations. The toughest concept you people have picked that up. Otherwise, learning this is very difficult. When you go to things like ChatGPT and you try to explore these concepts, somewhere, see, understanding this will be difficult. Why constructor calling, initialization guarantee, right? Encapsulation of the object logic, compiler JVM. So making that understandable becomes difficult. Yes or no? Okay. So I'm going to stop here today's lecture and practice this. I'll continue tomorrow. So I'll come back tomorrow and take your class. Okay. I'll share the link. Staff will share the link with you, today's class link. Please watch the recorded classes. Do not skip that. Please watch the recorded classes and revise again. Though you know, handwritten notes, prepare that. Okay. So we will learn lot of concepts, guys. But if you notice progress, we are already here on line number. Huh? We have already touched 900. Line number 900 of notes is already touched. Just in the 5th class. Since I'm not telling you to write, that's why we are little fast. But look at, though I'm not fast, I'm repeating same concept so many times. Our time saving is happening because of zero writing. It's not because of syllabus skipping. Okay. So like this, all the things we will see. Bye guys. Okay. Your food will get over otherwise in PG. Quickly leave. Saturday, I'll take the class at 12 o'clock. Special class will be at 12 because your PG food timing will be 2. So 12 to 2 we will keep. Otherwise the class will get extended.